Yes, here we go. It's time for the T.N.F. It's the night we hand over the keys to use. Sorry again that there's not been as many buses as of late. Everyone's got things on, shit like that. It happens. So we can only apologise that there wasn't like PMPs for last night and at the weekend, but we should now be back to a more regular schedule. But one thing you can assure yourself on a Thursday night is you will get the dulcet tones of the judge giving his killer verdicts on everything that's been happening. How are we, Mark?
I'm doing very well, mate. Just my killer instinct and my killer opinions, to be honest with you. I was, a bit like yourself, quite consumed with the football last night, so I'm a bit conflicted about how I feel about it all, but I'm sure we'll get into that during the show, mate. But how about you? How's things?
Aye, all good, mate. All good. Now, I think it'll be interesting to get your takes. I would say conflicted is probably where I'm at with last night as well. But there'll be plenty of scope as to explain all that as well. It's not like we're all being doom and gloom. It's not like that.
Hmm.
It's not like that. All that good stuff means give us a like, give us a share, buy some hair. Remember, do hit the subscribe button if you've not already. We're way past that 5,000 mark. I don't think we have an X target because we're not really that type of fucking sad channel. Do you know what I
We're
mean?
going
Just
for the
trying to
silver. We're going for the silver YouTube.
plaque.
What,
Yeah.
what's that, about 100 billion subscribers or something like that? It's
I don't know. The wee
unattainable,
fella will
isn't
have
it?
a couple. The wee fella will have
Aye,
a
aye,
couple. I'm
aye.
sure. But
Just
aye,
make one. Just make
if you're,
just get tinfoil and make one up. Who's going to notice? Who's going to question you? You know what I mean?
have you used all my tinfoil for my hats, Mark? But remember as well, if you are a subscriber, hit the bell button, and it means you do never miss a bus when we are live. Remember, you can become a Bhoycie Bus member as well. 199 helps keeps the wheels on the road. That is all. All the content remains completely free. Obviously, who's paying for this? And PieSports.com, 12.5% off at the checkout when you use the code BUS1888. Right, okay. It was Celtic's first game in about a decade in the latter stages, you could call it, albeit it's a new kind of latter stages because it was the last 24, not last 16. But I think it was the target for this European campaign was to get through the League of 32 into the top 24. That was the goal, and that's what we've achieved. I've got to be honest, when you look at Bayern last night as well, that was only Celtic could finish in the playoff rounds and have an option of it being Real Madrid or Bayern Munich next. I mean, when you think about it, these teams as the ones you would associate with already have qualified through via the top eight. So I think they were quite unlucky in that way that they happened to land themselves in the same playoff situation that we were in. And unfortunately, typical Celtic, it was a shootout between whether it was the record champions of the tournament and the other team who's only won about 5 or 6 in Bayern Munich at these European Cups. I mean, it was incredible that. But what we knew was we had a real test, but we knew we'd came on leaps and bounds in Europe this year, and I'm sure everyone agrees that Celtic's campaign, albeit the qualification was the target, and it's just a tick box. I do think there was a lot more mature performances throughout the 8 games where we've seen the 0-0 draw in Bergamo, Mark, not Atlanta, in Bergamo.
Aye.
And I think we also seen, a massive statement win when we beat Leipzig. And we also did things that we should do in the Champions League, which is never always the narrative, and that was thump a team like Bratislava at home. And I think these results all matter. We beat young boys, we took care of them when it mattered, and that's what we should have done. Celtic don't always do what they should do in the Champions League. So it sets up nicely for a home leg first, which I think, to be honest with you, I know it's not the general thought. Most people would want to be away first and then bring them back to home for the second leg. My worry with that was, what if the game's that far out of sight and then the second leg's a dead rubber? The one chance you've got of keeping both legs alive would be having the home leg at home and hopefully having something to hold on to. And what's happened is we're still in the tie. We've not got something to hold on to as such, but we're still within the tie. And that's better, I think, than coming back for the game at Celtic Park and, there's more spare tickets than you can shake a stick at because we're well and truly out already. So the game, I was at it, you were at it. It kicks off with one of the most incredible electric starts you could have imagined. And that's when Celtic have the ball in the net. It's 60 fucking seconds. And you're thinking, wow. And I've got to be honest, I don't go to a lot of games, as you know. And that bit really, really hit home how frustrating it is. not having a clue what the fuck is going on. And I know there's a wee sign that comes up offside, but maybe just because I'm so conditioned now as an armchair fan, Mark, I'm waiting for my 3, 4, 5 replays and a commentator maybe to hold my hand and guide me as to what the fuck's going on.
I think we spoke about this, Bhoycie. Me and you spoke about this, and probably it's the first time in a while you've understood kind of that side that, you know, I mean, the frustration is, I did see the night the FA in England have announced that they're going to be introducing, as of next season, I think, and the FA Cup games, inside the stadium, the referee's going to be talking to the support like they do in the NFL in America. That's starting this season for a view next season. But see, when you're sitting there, boy, saying you don't know whether it's a handball, you don't know whether it's a kick in somebody's face. It could be an offside, it could be a handball. You've not got a clue. It's very vague, the information you get, boy, saying. I don't understand your frustration, mate, and you can kind of see where, you know, I mean, I didn't go last night. My brother took my ticket. I forgot to tell you that, but you can kind of see where, you know, where the frustration lies, because the information can be easily given to the people in the stadium. Everybody's got big screen TVs in the Scottish League, or at least there's an announcement, there's a tannoy. The information can be given to people, but it's just very vague information you're getting when you're at the stadium. And I think last night probably pinpointed that, because see me watching it took me about 3 or 4 seconds to work out what the fuck happened, because I thought, how can it be offside? And I'm going, are they impacting the match? And you see my head, you're crossing the keeper's path, and there's nothing you can do there. That is chopped off. But
it was Adamida, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just found it strange. Just on that incident, I don't know why he had to cross the keeper, but I don't know. He could have held back. But fair play to the guy for wanting to get to try to get the rebound. Fair play to him for that. But apart from that, boys, I totally get what you're saying about VAR. It's frustrating. And last night, probably after 25 seconds, bang, we're in. Place must have went mental, and you thought, that's us, and it's been another kick in the teeth.
Yes.
The fourth goal in 2 matches that we've seen could do that route at Celtic Park in the Champions League, and it's hard to take and hard to explain when you don't know what's happening either.
Yeah, and definitely that was a source of frustration. I think then you kind of sort of pick up, as I say, I'm usually waiting for a commentator to guide me or something like that, and instead you're sort of picking up the vibe for the stands, and you're going, oh, Big Eda's stuck a leg out or something. That was kind of what people were saying at the time, and then when you watch it back, he's kind of jumped and it's went through his legs or something like that. But he's just wasn't involved at that stage, and he's not realised he's actually drifted just half a yard offside. But I want to talk to you about the other side, because I do think it was the right call that's been made at the end of the day. I think he is in the goalkeeper's line. He is interfering with play. He is offside.
Yeah.
So for me, I know a lot of people on the old socials are today saying that goal should have stood.
For me,
I've got to be honest. I think that's what VAR's there for, is for those ones not to get flagged, to get called up after the event. So I had no qualms about that. Here's my concern with the game. There's a lot of good things we're going to talk about with Celtic as well. But I think that start there was a template for how the game should go forward. Now, I did a wee show on my own the night before, and I said, the one thing I think about this team, the Bayern side, is they can be got at. I think Celtic, it's an aggressive ball that's played into Nicholas Kuhn. It's skipping a player in the cycle, if you like, of steady passing. Miss a man, get it straight out to Nicholas Kuhn early, and let him take his man on. Let him drop his shoulder. And what my frustration then would be, as much as I'm praising that element, is we didn't follow up after that. I don't know if the disallowed nature of the goal means that's knocked the wind out their sails. Really, to me, it should have inspired confidence. It should have been a real trigger point of, fucking hell, we've just literally seen there what we can do to this side if we believe in ourselves when we get the ball. Now, of course, there's 2 elements to that, Matt. Getting the ball. 10-second rule you were telling me about. I'll let you explain that in a wee second. But when you do get it, I felt we went within ourselves from then on. And the vantage point, as you've spoken about many times on the bus, I had an excellent seat last night. So big thanks to Flash for sorting the tickets, because the one it landed on for me was just pure luck, of course. But it was an absolute peach of a seat. And you're watching where the ball's going to go, but it's taken 2 to 3 passes for it to get to the designed destination, i.e. if it's a winger calling for it, we've got to go past the other centre-back, past the full-back, then to the winger. Teams like Bayern read it, mate, a mile off. You've got to be brave. You've got to skip a couple of guys out the loop. and, get aggressive passes zipped along the surface into feet and make their whole team have to move along a lot more. I felt the steady Eddie process of how we were getting the ball from our objective player was kind of allowing Bayern to just be in stages, moving along with that, and it was quite easy to read. I thought we were quite predictable, and for me, Judge, that came down at the end of the day, I thought, to a lack of bravery on the ball. I just think we're better than what we think we're at times, and we'll get to the second half where I think we kind of proved that point. But I just felt, what was your take on that from the disallowed goal? I think that's a good thing. It's a great start either way. Okay, it's disallowed. You want it to fucking stand. But if it doesn't, you've just seen for yourself what you can do to this elite side. And I think for some reason we went a wee bit into our shell in the ball in the rest of that first half. Defensively being a wee bit deeper, by the way, no issue with that at all for me. I think I don't care about the optics, Mark. I care about the scoreline. And we were at 0-0 right up to that half-time point, just right before they score a worldie. But up to then, okay, it might not look great, but I don't mind that erring on the side of caution at this level when you're not with the ball. But boy, oh boy, when you get it, fucking have a bit more faith in yourself and have a bit more faith in your teammates that they'll be able to collect it in a tricky position. They'll anticipate an ambitious pass. Do you know what I mean? Because that's where I feel that first half got away for us. When you are going to get in the ball, make it count. And I think Rodgers alluded to that in the post-match when he said, go there with it. When you come away from Bayern, don't have any regrets. And I think that's maybe alluding to that. What's your thoughts? I'm rambling a wee bit.
No, that's quite all right, mate. No, I did get your point. I mean, the first 25 seconds we get the goal, it seemed to be the passage of play that we did to get the goal. Down to the wing straight away, no flying about. Kuhn's first touch was to get the ball inward, and he came along that 18-yard line a bit like James Forrest used to do. That was instinctive, you know what I mean? His body opened up, he took a shot, and we didn't see that for the rest of the first half. You know what I mean? It was like the template was there, as you mentioned. Probably if we scored for that and the goal stood, we would have built on that. So
I think we should have built on it either way. Yeah, that's my point of view.
And just because the goal didn't stand doesn't mean that the process didn't work. You know what I mean? And listen, it's funny you mentioned the fact that the kind of primary target and the players in between that is sometimes it's just a bit like giving the ball to a player just for the sake of it. See when you bypass one or two players and just head straight to the. We did do that a couple of times in the first half, and the crowd could feel like you could see it, and it does make them think. See when you're passing the ball 3 times to get the ball 30 yards across the pitch, that's getting a top level player valuable seconds to get yourself positioned. These people, they're very. You watch a Scottish striker in our league, their discipline starts to wane the more the game goes on. They'll be disciplined. They'll hold back when they have to. They'll press your defence slightly. But see, the more the game goes on, they start to be mentally tired, Bhoycie, and they can't keep up with the mental discipline. See, Bayern Munich, they can do that for 90 minutes. So see, giving guys an extra 2-3 seconds to keep their composure and their discipline, it tends to only work out one way and actually getting the ball away. And we mentioned it all fair, so to speak. And I think Joe Hart was
saying in the green room.
The green room, we're sitting back with a couple of pundits now, and they were saying that on average, Munich get the ball back after 10 seconds of getting the ball away. Now, if you're actually thinking about that, they've got the ball back 3 or 4 times just from me rambling a lot of shit in the last 30 seconds. Do you know what I mean? If they lose the ball, they'll get it back within 10 seconds. I don't know the rest of the leagues, the rest of the European big teams' stats on that, but to me that's elite level, boys. I mean, that means you've got the ball back within maybe 2 passes if you're being serious there. You know what I mean? And you noticed that at Celtic in the first 20-25 minutes, you wouldn't have seen this, but they gave you the stats. We only had like 90 passes. See, by 65 minutes, we had like 400 or something like that. You know, we were creeping up on Bayern Munich, right? But again, a lot of it I think was passing for passing's sake. And when I looked at the stats this morning or last night, I seen the stats, and Celtic had a higher XG than Bayern Munich. They had a 91% passing accuracy, we had 89%. So the difference is between the two is one was clinical and one was concise in what they were doing. One was second guessing himself, and one was just had that killer instinct. All right, you throw in guys like Harry Kane and that young boy who scored that world in the first half. Throw in that additional talent, and you're going to get a cracking performance. But you don't always need to have that world-class player in a position, Bhoycie, if you're doing the good things right. And I thought Celtic did a lot of good things right in the first half. I'm sorry. I did a lot of good things right in the first half. But
that's
I
the
did
second
also
time that's went off.
Is that what happened again?
No, Roy Keane, remember the Roy Keane quote?
I've got to do it.
The press conference with Roy Keane. It's not
I did see that. I did see that.
He was absolutely and he's like, that's the second time.
Ready to him. I mean, also believe there's a lot of good things, and I'm sure we will all get into it. But the frustrating thing, I believe, is for me anyway, is I looked at they've played 4 away games in the group stage, and they lost 3 of them. And I thought, right, there's goals in that defence. That defence is got a leaky defence. They will give away goals. They had that big boy Dyer as centre back. I thought, we can get at him. That was my first instinct. You know what I mean? I think Spurs get rid of him, so I thought a very bad Spurs team. I thought he looks like a bit of a dumpling at that level. I mean, and
probably just doesn't know a defender.
Is that? Or maybe he's not a very good passer.
I don't even know if he sold him. I'm just saying that.
No, it's a good point. No, I mean, listen, you probably got a point there. A lot of Spurs fans would probably tell you he's not a big fan of defending either. But that's my frustration a wee bit, is I think we could have got into them a wee bit faster. And I totally agree, boys. Sometimes the passing for passing's sake is fine in Scottish football, because that's us as the team on the ascendancy, getting our bearings, getting this kind of horseshoe shape, finding the angles, finding the space. In Europe, we're just giving the better teams merely a chance to find their feet, find their focus, excuse all the crowd noise and just be disciplined. And
let's talk about the passing thing there, because I think it's an interesting point. Because you said they're about 89 and 91%. Now, our 89% would have been a percentage of that 89%. Ours will be about 90%, what I would call safe passes.
Yeah.
Their 91% accuracy will be a complete blend of higher risk passes, balls through the lines, missing men out, as we're talking about, as well as their safe passes, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll give an example. I think I read that Callum McGregor finished the game at 98% passing accuracy. And from my point of view, I wasn't impressed with him last night.
5-yard passes, boys. You talk Barry Ferguson stuff.
That's why I brought it up, because
but that's hearing a lot of that as well.
Yeah, so I think he had the highest passing accuracy of the two teams, but it's amazing how misleading that stat can be when you then need to take into consideration, well, could you categorise them? High risk passes that led to an attack, passes, do you know what I mean, that were under immense pressure at the edge of your box, things like this, or how many were just on the half turn, looking about and then going, I'll just get to a centre back. You know, and I think you need these passes. That's why stats can be so misleading for a lot of people. And I think a lot of folk who don't know what they're watching but rely on numbers. I've just told you I rely on the commentator, for fuck's sake. But
it's lies and damn lies, isn't it, Bhoycie? Lies, damn lies and statistics. And I think you can make a start, take any picture you want. I could tell you that if you missed the game last night, we should have won the match because we had a better XG. But the reality is, Bayern Munich were wasteful in front of goal. That's the reality of it, you know what I mean?
One of the things I wanted to say as well about the passing element, the other point that you just raised there about domestic versus Europe, we probably are knocking it about at that same rate. What you don't realise, again, against these sort of juggernaut sides is the rate you're passing that ball about and shifting it might look like it's got Ross County fucking getting dragged all over the place. But a team like Bayern, who are reading where you're passing it before you've actually played the pass, it means that you're actually going at a slower tempo. Even if the ball's still moving at the same trajectory as when it does domestically, we're actually playing slow because of the opposition, because they are so much quicker, sharper in their minds and their outlook and how the game's playing in front of them. So that's just, again, another example of what it's like to step up to this level. One of the worst things that can happen is conceding a goal, pal, right before half-time.
5 seconds.
I think we'd asked for it. I think they were knocking on the door, if I'm honest. They've went down the channel we knew they would. But it's not about going down a big episode on Greg Taylor. I really don't want to. But one thing you can bet your bottom dollar is we've seriously upgraded that position this summer. And I think games like tonight, the last night, sorry, is an example of where some guys can be good servants, they can be good stalwarts, they can be decent Celtic players, they can pick up a lot of trophies. But if we're all committed to this, we want to be mixing the last 24 again next year, but maybe have a greater chance of getting to the last 16 rather than just going, well, it's still progress. Then there's obviously areas in the park, Mark, where you can see that you'll not quite make it. You're going to be left behind when it comes to that direction of travel. The domestic stuff's okay, but at this, you need to be a bit better, I think. And I think they felt they were getting a bit of joy out of him, if I'm honest, in that first half. And I mean, he's a wee bit unlucky with how he's beaten, but at the same time, you could argue the guy's he's your man. He's got by with relative ease.
Taylor, sorry, Bhoycie, I think Kieran Tierney anticipates that ricochet. And
yeah.
I think the speed of thought for these elite players. And don't get me wrong, you put Kieran Tierney in that Bayern Munich team, and he improves that Bayern Munich team as well. That's just my opinion. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
I think he'll improve Celtic. And I made the point on Twitter last night that this is what annoyed us in the pod. Not go back into the window in January, but see a wee bit 5% better striker and Kieran Tierney and on that part last night. Who knows where we could have went last night? You know what I mean? Who knows what we could have done last night? And as I say,
considering the outcome was 1 goal, Mark. The outcome was 1 goal. The outcome was a 1 goal difference between the two sides. So you're absolutely right to be fucking saying.
Yeah. It was 5 seconds to half time, and you mentioned the passing. You're spot on. It was the array of passing as well, boys. I don't know if you've seen the highlights or you can remember they got their first goal. It was a ping ball for about 40 yards, 50 yards, right only a sixpence, and the guy took a bad first touch. See, in Europe, boys, so you can't take a bad first touch and win the ball. He's been unlucky, Greg Taylor, you know what I mean, the poor guy. Tune in tomorrow. That's got to be a Greg Taylor. I said both can be true about Greg Taylor. We mentioned players can be stalwarts and be a good servant, but still be of a decent level. Both can be true. Greg Taylor's just at the end of his cycle for Celtic, and probably at the end of his tether for Celtic fans as such, because I don't think fair as well. See, be fair to Greg Taylor, boys, this is why I don't like the clubs sometimes when they start talking to the press. See, be fair to Greg Taylor. The clubs are ones that have leaked out a few times now that they've been offering him contracts and he's said no. That's put pressure on that boy within the stadium. You know what I mean? Every time he makes a bad pass, there's an ulterior motive. His seed's gone. He's no in it anymore. I think Celtic have been a wee teensy bit naughty there or not. And see, be fair to the boy, see the last maybe 3, 4, 5 games, I think he has performed at a high level. I think last night was probably just a step too far for him. But I think Bayern Munich for Celtic players is a step too far for a lot of your squad.
Of course.
It gets highlighted when you're probably see your team just now is very likeable. That team, Schmeichel, fans love him. Johnston, the defence, blah blah blah. He's probably one of the old players that he's universally just kind of disliked just now. Palmer was away. Palmer was the last disliked player, you know what I mean? And I think
the baton has to be passed.
It does, mate. But
also, so does the fucking ball inside the park. You know what I mean?
It does, mate. It does. I mean, I'm just glad that when I go to a home game, Greg Taylor's there, so that I get less stick in the stadium. You know what I mean? Somebody to batten half a wee bit, but I think the first off, boys. I think there was so much positive we could have turned in. I mean, 5 seconds you get to half time. You get that second half performance that we gave last night with a 0-0 half time, then you might have got a result last night. You know what I mean? I don't mean that the obvious you take one goal away, we want some talk about that, but the mindset, Bayern Munich's mindset might not have been as fuck it, let's get the second goal. They might have went like, oh, we need to feel Celtic first. Let's see what Celtic can do first before we start going mental again. And I do think that they get a goal chopped off in the first 25 seconds and we lost a goal in the last 5 seconds. The European gods don't always smile on Celtic, and I think last night had a lot of that.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair. And it was a really bad time to concede. And I just thought, as I say, I think there'll be some purists out there, the Ange ball lovers, who won't have enjoyed seeing Celtic looking like they were so deep at times. But I've got no issue with it, mate. No issue with it. I think you've got to respect the competition, respect the opponent. And if that means sometimes it's going to be a backs to the wall job, it won't look pretty, but we were nearly there to a half that I think you could have took them in, and if you really want to sort of flip in the psychology, go, remember we should be 1-0 up because that early goal, do you know what I mean? We should be the one. And suddenly that belief grows. Instead, of course, what was going to happen was a sucker punch early in the next half. What was your take on the Kane goal? Now, I think what's went under the radar, which fair dues to Celtic fans, because it shows that we focus on our shortcomings, more than certain clubs do. But that finish is a joke, by the way. Like, that's like a flying volley, mate. He's actually kind of like cushioned it like waist height, just no problem, a perfect connection. But when we look at it from the Celtic point of view, he has a header at the back post moments before. Remember? With a set piece. And he said that was at the first half. And he's
that was the first half, side netting.
Yeah, side netting. So the warning was there. Now, again, it just happens to be Greg Taylor. Was that the guy who was meant to be picking up Harry Kane at that back post? Because I think he was the closest to him initially, but I'm actually going to abscond him and blame it. That's the wrong guy to be on him.
I think it was Johnson that was marking them up. I don't think they did zonal marking, Bhoycie, but I'm sometimes a bit confused who's picking up who or not, to be honest.
Well, I'm confused how Harry Kane, one of the most renowned predatory strikers in Europe and has been for the last decade, how he's not marked by anyone, I'll never understand.
Maybe the Scotland goal. Remember the Scotland goal against England, the 2-each game? And totally, mate. To be honest with you, they've watched footage of Harry Kane. He scored like 29 goals this season, or whatever it is. He's a predator, Bhoycie, as you just said, and it makes it criminal. I was saying to my dad on the phone this morning. I was like, Dad, we can blame the Celtic players all we want, but he's one of the world's best for a reason. He makes space out of nothing. But looking from a Celtic point of view, Bhoycie, I do think there was mistakes all over it. That's concentration levels, but as you said, the first half, it had a big warning. I do think Johnston won 3 or 4 cracking headers the first half, but I do think that was his man last night. Greg Taylor, you're not going to put a guy my height, Bhoycie, mark.
No, I thought it was Taylor that was close to him, you know that?
Listen, as I'm saying, you watch it, I'm never sure. We don't zonal mark, but I'm never sure who's picking up who. It's like I'm really no, because I can see Trusty win a ball in the front post, and the next corner win a ball at the penalty spot. I mean, so you don't know who.
It was Johnson. It's been confirmed it was Johnson. That's fine. I thought a couple of
first time something right in my life. I'll take that.
I mean, Alex is absolutely right when she comes in with this point. It came out that Harry Kane had actually said, "Send it to the back post. I'm getting lots of room there." It was AJ that was supposed to be marking him. And this is, I think, where the confusion bit is. Whilst AJ is the closest to him, is he actually meant to be man marking him? Or, as you rightfully say, is there some sort of zonal marking going on? Because one thing you've got to say about Johnston is man marking and stuff like that's his game. Yeah. He loves all that, tight, close contact and 50-50 physical battles. It's like that. That's one of his assets, in fact, is that side of it. So, for him just to, be sleeping on his, with his sleeping on his man, sleeping without his man. Fucking hell, what am I talking about? But for him to be nodding off whilst the guy is meant to be preventing from scoring goals with the reputation that he has, just seems really out of character. It doesn't make sense, and that's where I kind of subscribe to what you're saying, mate, about was there some sort of other form of tactic, set piece tactic going on there that's maybe got lost in translation. But it was damning from Celtic, because these are the cheap ones. You do not make sure you make sure you do not concede at this level. That's cheap. Harry Kane, back post, set piece, unacceptable. See, when you put that as your sentence, that's how you conceded a goal. You better fuck off, mate. Do you know what I mean? Let alone the fact you were warned with a very similar instance only, in terms of match play minutes before. And I think
there's always a side, though, Bhoycie, that we always look at things for a Celtic prism, and
of course,
if we get Kyogo scoring the goal that we saw Kyogo scoring the same type of goal a lot of times for Celtic, and you used to say, why are they giving that boy that much space in the box? But then you rewatch and you go, he made that space. He's like a spring. He bounces back 2 yards, and their defender who's not at his level doesn't even know the guy's moved. There is a side that I know where you go, Harry Kane is he's at the elite level, boys. I know he's the England captain and the rest of it. I was saying to Jerry the day, kind of doing my driving with Jerry, that seeing you get players at that level, boys, they can make space without even the defender noticing, mate.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean? And of course, it's your job to maybe point out that Celtic should have been doing at that moment, but sometimes maybe it's just like tease out. You know what I mean? It's nothing we can do about that. You know what I mean?
I think direct from a set piece is probably where I
No,
would
it's annoying. It's
argument
annoying,
falls.
boys. It is
That's the
annoying.
only bit. But I take what you're saying, because I think, I mean, again, at times last night, fucking the other thing you'd say about Kane is you don't realise how, when you watch someone like that up close, you don't realise how good they are deeper in possession. You just have him down as this poacher who hangs at the back post and scores goals or whatever. Mate, see when he drops deep in that, what he can do with the ball. He shields it and all that, and he's got the physical attributes. And watch him zip it, mate. It's like, come on. There's so much more to these guys' games than what we probably give them credit. We just have it in our heads. They're just he's poacher, goal scorer type player. They've got so much in the locker going on. But no, that takes us to a place where a disappointment for a set piece. We've had the unfortunate timing of the first goal. Second half got off to a disastrous start. It's only 5 minutes in. By the way, as well, just in the set piece thing, 3 or 4 corners given to Bayern. And again, I've not got the benefit of all the TV replays.
No, you're right.
Looking by Casper's reaction,
You're right.
he seemed to think it was 100% the wrong way. I'm not sure if that was.
No, you're right. And there was 3 that went against us.
Yeah.
Either 2 in the first half, and I think it was
attacking wise.
Kuhn. And I'm like, we're getting nothing here, Bhoycie.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on that because I mean, Kasper Schmeichel's he's not shying coming forward, you know. And I think when he was sort of making his argument, it really sticks out, Mark. You know, when Kasper sort of, you know, got the arms in there, and you're going, fucking hell, that's a few times I've seen him doing that. Anyway, here's the brilliant side and maybe the evolution that we can all acknowledge now that Celtic have made in Europe. They didn't crumble for that point, and they were, I think, having to regroup, having just to try and get their heads together again, having to remain as positive they possibly could, but knowing once that second goal went in, killer blow at the end of the first half, killer blow at the start of the second half, probably the feeling of a goal that could have been prevented as well with the second one, and remembering who you're playing. And it could have just been shoulders go down, head goes down, and we enter into how many is this going to be? You're back behind the couch again, right? Which you probably were anyway. But this is the bit where I think we've got to praise the maturity that's shown baby steps. It's not the finished article yet, and it never will be. But from where we've been in the Champions League last 2 campaigns, this being the 3rd one that we've had the automatic group stage qualification for, I think it's jumped a hell of a lot from second season to 3rd. And I think when Rodgers came in for the second season, I think we agreed, we thought he'll not get the plaudits, but he looks already like he's going to be more focused on getting points. And we've seen obviously with the win against Feyenoord, things like this, the 5 points that we got, it was a bit of a jump up from the Postecoglou season in the Champions League, albeit not a massive one. I think this time it really has jumped up, and I think a lot of that's also the mental side. Now, whilst I was disappointed in all the safe passes, when I think we should have been building from the momentum that we'd gained for ourselves within the first minute, you could also counter that and say, well, you can understand why the Heats have went down, confidence is shot, and we've ended up at the wrong end of it doing once that second goal goes in. It's far from it. It's far from it. Yeah, it took a good another 10, 15 minutes of maybe not Celtic at their electrifying best. But there was a couple of wee tactical tweaks made. Obviously, Maeda moving in the middle, and we can go into a bit of detail on that. But I don't think it was just that. I think just overall as the team, there's just a wee bit more resilience about them this year. And I thought even the resilience levels at times domestically last year wasn't great. You know, when we conceded the goal, we seemed to fucking look very culpable of conceding another one right after it. But I just thought last night we showed a wee bit of defiance, a wee bit of puffing the chest out sort of thing, and right, we regroup, took 10 minutes to get over the shock, but once we did, we flipped the narrative again eventually by the sort of 65th, 70th minute mark. Now, the tactics obviously play a big part. We can talk about that. But firstly, I want your thoughts on, would you agree that's maybe one of the main evolutions we've seen, and why the points tally was dwarfing what we've done in recent times, including last season, and maybe why we found ourselves with the 9th and 10th game in the Champions League, because there has been a development from Celtic in the mental side when it comes to Champions League football.
Well, one of the most frustrating things to hear from a Celtic manager is when they say, we've made mistakes and we'll learn from it, because they rarely do. You've seen us losing 4-5-0 a couple of times. We lost 7 against Dortmund. We've learned from that because we went 2-0 doing it at Aston Villa. We refocused, got it back to 2 each, Bhoycie. Last night, 2-0 doing against Bayern Munich. Most teams chuck a tailwind, but we found something within ourselves. Celtic teams, of course, but we found something within ourselves, and that doesn't come through wearing a certain badge or walking into a winning team, Bhoycie. That comes through like the mental capacity of the players and the philosophy of the manager. We've learned for Dortmund this season. It's not very often that you can see games. We as a fan base after Atalanta, one of the first things we always said was, we've learned for that. We don't often see that in Europe. And last night, and Villa proved that, mate, for me, is you could do 2-0, and a lot of teams, Celtic teams especially, as you just said, they chuck a tailwind, or they just try and hold it for the 2-0. We clicked into gear. Maybe the shackles came off. Maybe there was a vulnerability in Bayern Munich sitting off us at 2-0 that Celtic seen.
Maybe we were a bit pissed off.
Maybe that's what I want to see. Maybe the 2 goals that they lost, the defence knew and the players knew. We don't mind losing 40 yarders. We don't mind losing tiki-taka goals, but we've kind of sold the 2 of them a wee bit. Maybe there was that bit of frustration. The players kicked in emotion a wee bit, and I think the fans get a wee G up when Hatate had that chance right after it went 2-0. The fans felt, no, the Celtic players haven't gave up here, so we won't either. And I think the Celtic players reacted to the crowd a wee bit, Boy, saying, this is what we're finding, is that going 2-0 doing it Villa away, as I mentioned, there's teams in the EPL that collapse in that situation. We didn't collapse in that situation. It doesn't make you a good team or a bad team coming back for 2-0, nor does it make you a bad team to lose 4-0 in a situation like that. Celtic have learned mentally. The scars for the 7-1 game, and they will be scars. The scars will cut deep for guys like Schmeichel, for guys like McGregor, who's seen this before, and the scars for Brendan Rodgers personally would have cut deep. Now, the players might have reacted positively and got the get themselves back into the game. But see, for me, what's more encouraging for me is our managers got something within our players to kick back into gear again, and the managers got solutions for when the players are feeling like they're on the ground. You know what I mean? He's found a way of getting Celtic back into the game again, and we've not seen that for a long, long time at Celtic. And this is the thing: if you can start incrementally cutting out certain factors in the game, you don't need to go 2-0 down to kick into gear. If we can stop being away to have mistakes, if we can cut the mistakes down to the absolute minimum, us kicking into gear, us playing this kind of Rangers style, sort of picking and choosing. I mentioned the day to Jerry, Celtic last night was like a boxer in a fight. They knew when to swing. It was almost like their chance came, Bhoycie, and they took the hook, and they hooked Bayern Munich. And I would say Brendan Rodgers was holding after that moment, but Celtic definitely kicked into gear at a certain moment, you know what I mean? And I did see a very tactical, fight in Celtic last night, which I've not seen for a long, long time. And for me,
we didn't feel sorry for ourselves, did we?
No, we didn't. And do you know something secret after part last
night? Happened. I think it has happened in the past.
See, this feels well for yourself, boys. It breeds throughout the team, and I don't think. Yeah. See, we went into the last 90 seconds at Villa Park chasing an equaliser. We went into the last second last night chasing an equaliser from a 2-0 deficit, one within the first 2 minutes and 50 seconds, a minute into the second half, or whatever it is. We've faced some high mountains as a Celtic team this season, you know what I mean? Taking a 7-1 scudding, gone to
Sure.
Atalanta, who is scoring goals for fun. I know they get beat last night, but scoring goals for fun.
Bergamo.
Bergamo. But we've beat the team we should beat, beating 5-1. That shows mental strength, you know what I mean? And we've also, after
With
losing
all the pressure in
3
the Young
goals,
Boys Bayern game.
well, Young Boys, that's what I was going to say there. 3 goals chopped off and a missed penalty at half time. You get in that dressing room at half time. See if that's Hearts at Celtic Park or Hearts at Ibrox at Tynecastle, and they've missed 3 penalty kicks. If 3 goals offside, they miss a penalty kick. Celtic come out in the second half and smash them, right? Because they're done. Mentally, they're saying, what else could we possibly do here? Celtic have faced that. They've still feel sorry for themselves. They've got the big boy pants out, and they've found a way to win. And they've now found a way when they're down and they're doing the dumps to have the mental capacity to try and get back in it. And see, as a Celtic team at our level in terms of squad depth, that's what the fan base can ask for at this stage. Let's get better, make the weaker things better incrementally, and that requires investment. But I think the manager is definitely getting the psychological side of Celtic, and the players are feeding off it. And I think the fans would have walked away from the stadium last night thinking, not just, oh, poor us, we're Celtic as usual. They'd have saw a lot of, do you know what? We went toe-to-toe for spells in that match last night and get beat by a better fighter. That's all it was. But Celtic, I think, possibly could have got on another night, got a point, and got a draw last night.
But if it was boxing, we took it to points.
But that's exactly.
We didn't get knocked out.
We felt it a few times, mate, and make up. You know what I mean?
But I think as well, what the next phase of this evolution cycle, I'm talking about all philosophically, but like, I think the next one will be you don't always have to react positively to adversity. You could take the adversity bit out and start proactively with that same belief.
Yeah, just cut that.
That's the next bit of it, mate. Do you know what I mean? See, against these teams,
mate.
you don't need to get clipped before you start reading the room a wee bit better or navigating the ring a bit better. You can actually start on the front foot yourself. You like that's the next bit. But it's got to be baby steps. No one is going from one of the worst Champions League records, if not the worst Champions League record I think Celtic have in the last 20 years. You know, it's awful a record in the Champions League, mate. Terrible. You're not going for 2 points with Ange in 30 minutes against Real Madrid getting raved about. That's how far the standards have dropped. That's not a dig at him, by the way, for a change. That's just how far the standards have dropped. Half an hour and a 3-0 home defeat. We were actually buzzing with.
Yeah.
5 points. The only win was against a dead rubber in Rodgers' season last year in the Champions League. The dead rubber celebrated. You know, we've got rid of the run without a win at Celtic Park. Who do? This year it's overcoming adversity in difficult circumstances. And we've seen that bit now going right. You know, just because we go behind doesn't mean we've lost all the points. Just because we've gone behind doesn't mean we've lost the game. And it's going to be a matter of how many. We're going to try and find answers here. And we're going to keep coming back. And then when there is the games against the lesser opposition, we've learned how to be what the elite sides do to us. We can then do that next bracket. And the next step will be, if we're in this middle sort of bottom middle sort of section of teams in that will be then jumping up again and starting to go in the front foot against, I don't know, the likes of
we're like the fruit cocktail of the trifle of European football, boys. We're not quite the jelly. We're not the cream of the custard, but just that wee bit of fruit cocktail lying about in the bottom somewhere. But
you took the words out of my mouth, mate. That's exactly what I was thinking.
A trifle. You'll be a Marks and Spencer's, man. Let's be honest. But it's true, and we forgot to mention there when we're talking about adversity. Look at the Bruges game. We lost our own goal. Out of nowhere, Carter Vickers puts the ball in the back of net.
That's right.
And we normally collapse in moments like Bhoycie. Yeah. Another example of, as you said, why we don't need to get the slap in the face. Just cut this out. And I think these things are incremental, Bhoycie. As I said, I think the Dortmund game left scars, but I think it was necessary. I think we needed that. I think this campaign needed that doing. I really did, because we've evolved as a team through that, Bhoycie, you know what I mean? And if we can keep the core of this team together for next season, they will be better for that. Yeah. We may not get the same draw, we may get tougher, slightly tougher away draws, etc., etc. But the team will learn for that. I'm almost positive that we'll be sitting next year at this time saying, okay, we might not have the same points, but we're saying, by God, this team is looking better for last year's campaign.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think everything's got to be building blocks. And I think we're just, I think we're, to be honest with you, ahead of where I thought we would be, probably by the end of this European campaign. Not ahead of where I think Celtic should be in 2025, by the way. I'm absolutely content that we should be at minimum top 24 side at the Europe's biggest table. No problem. Me with the setup that we have, and the manager we've got, and some of the players we've got, I think, and with the money there that could kick us on further, I've got no surprise that we're there. But my surprise is from how far behind I think as a club we've been of late. I think it really has jumped this year. I think hindsight will be very kind to this season, Matt, with Europe. I think it'll be, we'll look back and go, that was when fucking things really did start to, the mindset started to change again towards Europe. And, hopefully that'll lead to special things next season and onwards. Maybe even in Germany itself next week. Because one thing I do like to have is when you go to a restaurant, Mark, right? The reason they say the dessert is so important is because it holds the memory. Because it's the last thing you had, right?
Aye. Yeah.
Well, the pudding we served up for Bayern Munich, I think that last 15 minutes, we hope that holds the memory because without being over, fucking Celtic daft and all that, they wanted that whistle more than us.
They're holding on, mate.
They've went, when all the qualities we've spoke about with them throughout the show tonight is all fair and good. But we've got to balance that with a team even that good at one point is looking towards the ref to go get that fucking whistle blown. And none more so where they feel in their night was maybe not going to go as planned as when, again, the frustration for being at the game, first world problems and that. But the penalty incident occurs. And I'll give you my take on it. Now, many people will say, but he's touched the ball first. I'm not quite sure that matters as much in modern day football, first and foremost. Right. Secondly, they took an age to identify whether it was offside or not. Offside or not, first and foremost. That tells me VAR thought it's a pen. And we desperately need to dig deep here to find out if he's offside or onside, because I think there's a pen about to be given. Then a caveat it with that referee, the amount of time he spent at the monitor, and if it is just the standard amount of time, then maybe that's just biased from my point of view being at the ground. But it felt like he was at the monitor a lot longer than normal. And my exact words to the guy next to me, I said, he's watching it over and over again to convince himself it's not a penalty. You're watching it more and more to get into the psyche of what you want to do. And I did think, to be honest, there was a bit of bias from that ref. Just my opinion. I think it was a bit. I thought you did give anything that had any sort of benefit of the doubt towards the away side. That's just how I felt. People can not like it being a penalty. I'm one of them, because I think it's the game's go. If you got your boot to the ball first and there's then contact with a player, such as I watched the Hibs Air game on Friday night, and the first 60 seconds, cleanest tackle as you could ever see, Mark. Sliding tackle, studs aren't aggressive by the Hibs midfielder, only takes the ball, player goes flying, but because it's all done at pace, he's booked and many wanted him sent off. I thought, but if you're going to commit to a challenge, at times you're going to take the man after it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll caveat it with this, though, in this instance. He's not followed through naturally on Engels. It's a stamp on the foot. I'm not saying he's tried to stand on his foot, but if you actually look how he's planted his foot to that, of course he's going to get the ball first. Well, of course he is, because he's put it in such a place where it lands is going to be on Engels' boot. He's raised his boot to get the toe on the ball, and then it lands on top of him. So the only way he could get the ball is by doing that type of challenge, which I think leads it to being probably a foul, particularly in the woke era of football that we live in. What's your thoughts on how they came with the decision, and then of course your thoughts on whether it was a pen or not?
Well, first of all, you're spot on because the referees work backwards, the VAR. So they go penalty, then they go attacking phases of play. So the fact that they've checked for offside tells you they've already confirmed in their head as a penalty kick and worked backwards. And to be honest with you, he was in the monitor for about three minutes or something like that. He's looked at about 25 angles and he's found that moment. He's went, oh yes, that's not a penalty kick. See, normally they look and they go 2-3 angles, and even the commentators were saying, that's a penalty kick. Joe Hart at one point says the fans don't know this is a penalty, and they probably didn't. Nobody really saw it, but it was a penalty kick in my mind. It was tried to be explained away in the newspapers last night. Whatever it is, I didn't actually read the column because I thought I'm not going to get into it. Can't be arsed with it, but it's a free kick outside the box, in my opinion. So it's a penalty kick, and see the fact that the referee stood there until he saw that one angle that he wanted. Because see the very second he seen that angle, he went, oh, and it was away. No goal. He didn't ask for any more angles, Bhoycie. It was like he was waiting for that smoking gun to say that it wasn't a penalty. See the first, I don't know, minute of videos, you're going, every angle was a penalty kick. There was no more explanation needed. He went and tapped the boy's feet.
He's clipped the ball first, right? He has clipped the ball with the edge of his toe. But the only way he can clip that ball with the edge of his toe is by raising his boot. He's raised his boot, which then leads to that boot's got to land. I mean, that boot lands, it's going to be right on Engels' foot. That's mate as well. The pace Engels is going at, if he pulls away too quick and he puts that weight lands just at the wrong time.
Do you think as well, Bhoycie, the fact that the linesman gave offside, right? Work that one out, right? But see, there's almost you get a bit of pride in your work. So the referee's like, I'm at the elite level. I've missed a clear foul. That's a foul. Whether that's offside or no, that's a foul. So
I don't miss nothing.
I you know what I mean? And just something, I thought he was a rotten referee last night. I'm not going to lie. You mentioned 3 or 4. It was probably a few more than that. You've missed a few because you've been at the game, but trust me, there was a few more like that they couldn't miss. And I just thought last night, call it paranoia if you want, but to see the bigger clubs, bigger teams, fella, they need tend to get their decisions. We wouldn't see if that happened in the Bayern box and the Celtic box. They get a penalty kick for that. I'll take that to my grave. I definitely think that would happen, but we just need to suck it up. I don't think it was anything other than a penalty kick. I don't know the exact reason that was given by UEFA last night. I know something was put there, but for me, Bhoycie, he went and tapped his feet, gave him a sore one. He used his full body, impeded the player. He won the ball very, very slightly before. But see, winning the ball, we've conceded penalty kicks in Scotland when our players have won the ball before. So it's not like it's just Scottish rules. UEFA's probably the most stringent rules you can get. So it's easy to get a free kick in Europe, get a red card and get. So for that to be bypassed is a nothing incident.
And then as I say as well, mate, forget knowing about all the, the what the rule book says or anything. Just read a situation. They took 5 minutes to work out if it was offside or onside. That's because they think it's a penalty.
And because they work backwards.
If it's not a fucking penalty, they don't panic about whether he's offside or onside.
They go backwards. They don't check the attack phase of play and then check the offside and then check for a foul. The penalty kick been confirmed, right? So let's try and find something so they've went backwards, Bhoycie. So the 3 VAR officials have all agreed it's a penalty kick. At the very least, the majority of the referees thought it's a penalty kick. At the very least, right? So they've called them out of the monitor. And you know something? I probably, in the last 3 years of VAR, I can count in maybe one hand in any competition that I've saw that the guy go to the monitor and say, no, I'm sticking with my decision. See, last night is another example of Celtic not getting the rubber green when it comes to VAR. I think sometimes we've been a bit hard done to. In Europe, we get 2 red cards last season in the one game. One was a mistimed tackle, and one was the referee being shown a still photograph of a challenge. Remember?
That's right.
That didn't happen in any other. I've never seen that before or since, Bhoycie. We just sometimes don't get the luck we deserve. But I thought last night it was a typical Celtic in Europe. Score a goal, get chopped off, 5 seconds to go, losing a goal. and then if he daft things not going for you in between. That's a penalty kick, in my opinion.
Right.
In my opinion, it's a penalty kick, and I think Bayern Munich will probably know that as well.
Well, I think it's only that referee who it's like he didn't think it was a penalty. He didn't want to give it for whatever reason. I don't know. Smell the glove. We'll round it off with a couple of the wee points that have came in. Mark Smell the glove says, I think decent progress has been made this season. 2 years ago, we'd have lost 4-0 last night. What's your thoughts? I agree with that.
Oh, sorry, mate. I totally agree. I think we spoke about that, Bhoycie. I think the mentality shifted in the Celtic squad. I think mentality is almost as important as ability on the ball, Bhoycie. I think Celtic are beginning to get to the point where their mentality is beginning to reach their ability. And if you get two of them online, Bhoycie, Celtic will improve. And I think last night was just another reason to be positive that next season we'll get a bit more fruit.
So Patrick Kerrigan comes in. It's almost the perfect follow-up question. Patrick's saying, Mark Bhoycie, what is the realistic ceiling for Celtic? Feyenoord, Anderlecht, Ajax, Benfica, Stoya, Red Star, Porto, to name a few European Cup winners in this era that are now featuring the Champions League. Quarterfinals in a rare season. Is that? I think that means quarterfinals in a rare season. I mean, Ajax were a kick away for the Champions League final only 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
Spurs scored in literally the last kick of the game. Benfica are side notoriously who make the last 16, last 8. And they managed to justify that sort of return by selling any player they've got that's of any note for a minimum of 50 million quid. Because they just literally know how to hold court on what to get for their players. If they're dining at that table, then they want properly reimbursed for losing any of them. I don't like categorizing them all at the same time because they're all on different journeys now. They're all on different paths. They're all Ajax are right now in absolute free fall. Yet even 3 years ago, I think even on the bus, we've spoken in the past about the Ajax model. They should be doing what the Ajax model is. Apparently, they're fucking rooked. They're rooked and they're sitting mid-table in Holland right now. So everyone's in different journeys. Yes, these clubs all have the same common feature with the historical reference, Patrick, of having the Champions League to their name, but I don't think it carries any weight now. I think they're clubs of similar stature, yes, and I get that, but they're all at different journeys of their evolution as to where they are. Some are maybe going, on a backwards trajectory like Ajax. Celtic right now look capable of being in the cusp, but I think they've looked capable of being in the cusp of stuff for the last 20 years, to be honest with you. So that's where I'm at. We sometimes, if there's a ceiling for Celtic, Patrick, the ceiling's set by Celtic. We've not had an opportunity since Seville to see what the ceiling actually is. So it's a very difficult question to ask. For me, the ceiling right now gets set by Celtic before a ball's kicked.
Well, I think you were proven right, Bhoycie, on the 3rd of February. Celtic set their own ceiling by deciding not to get a striker or push the boat for Tierney just now. Celtic set their own glass. I think the ceiling for Celtic is glass, but only to a certain extent. I think some of the teams, the difference between Celtic is like, you get this constant cycle, 2-3 years, start again, 2-3 years, start again. We seem to build our best players and we've not got the riches to keep them at Celtic. Benfica will sell something there for 50 million, but they'll keep somebody who's on the cusp of fucking a right good European level player. He'll be there for 7-8 seasons and they can build teams. They'll have 4 or 5 players that have been there for 5-6 seasons, you know what I mean? Celtic, I always say, if Celtic's got a player there for more than 3 or 4 seasons, there's either something wrong with that player in terms of he can't go up a level, or he's maybe like a Carl McGregor who's
an anomaly, like
Aye, and I think whereas some of these teams can get a guy who's got a gear to go up at 27,
they could keep a Jota for 4 years.
They can, Bhoycie, in fact,
do you know what I mean?
And maybe that's the difference between Celtic and a Porto, because we've seen players going to these clubs for 100 grand a week. It's nothing new to see a guy on loan at Celtic and you're going, how much is he getting? Oh, he's for Benfica. Oh, he's on 75 grand a week. He's a second choice winger. A bad example, but you know what I mean? For us, we'd be breaking the bank and breaking people's jaws for 75 grand a week, you know what I mean? Whereas they can, I think that's your problem, boys. Spot and agree with you. Celtic have built the rain glass ceiling to a certain extent.
Yes, Celtic ceiling is dictated by Celtic,
Aye,
Matt. We'll round it up with
100%,
that,
mate.
but I've got one more to get on to you with. And I'll be honest, I know you've put views on Twitter, which I very much share. And I do want to talk about, because he's a pal of the Bus, not only that, a pal of mine. Liam McGrandles. I've known Liam 20 years now. 20 years. Worked at Prudential together when I was a cheeky wee bastard at 17. I remember we played Prudential at a fucking football team, and we played against some other, I don't know, a bank or a pensions company, a living-aside game. I'm wearing a hairband and that, mate, with gel fucking hair and all that shit. Pair of gloves in May. Pair of gloves in May and that. And he scored 2 goals. I think we won 3-2. He scores 2, and I've walked off the parks next to him, and I went, do you remind me of? I can't remember saying this. He's told me this. And he's like, what is it, wee man? I went, you remind me of an unfit Chris Sutton. And he's like, he fucking scored 2 goals out of 3. We've won the game. Best player in the park, and you fucking tell me I'm unfit. He goes, you're wearing a fucking wee hairband and a pair of gloves. I was like, so that's how long I've known the big man. And the reason I bring that into play is because I know what Liam's makeup is as a person. He is as humble and down to earth and sound that you could ever imagine meeting. This ain't no wee prima donna, mate, who fucking, I mean, fucking give me a couple of gigs at Celtic Park, I'll show you a prima donna. Do you know what I mean? This guy's
You come
never.
out like some sort of floating carpet with steam behind you.
Oh,
You know what I
aye,
mean?
mate. It'd be getting like, I went, what would be the entrance music, mate? We've got that fucking sorted. Where's the pyro? Do you know what I mean? I know I'm only doing 2 songs, but come on, fuck me. Where's my white suit? A little feather fucking Parker. But like, I think Liam, it's okay, by the way, if some of the younger generation, you know, the Celtic stand ones, if they feel that the acoustic thing before the games has ran its course, that's a matter of opinion that is part of the match day experience they pay fortunes for week in, week out. Jink Liam would have an issue with that. He might be gutted if it was the general consensus. Of course he would. He's living his dream. If you can't play for Celtic, but you can play music, what's the next best thing? You get to play at Celtic Park. Do you want to say no to these things? So it's okay to have the opinion that you're not enjoying it as much anymore. That's fine. Or actually, I would rather he didn't do it anymore. Why does it then need to jump tenfold, Martin, now, without making this remotely about us on a smaller scale? And it's sometimes, by the way, quite fucking viral in terms of Celtic Twitter. Me and yourself, the most from contributors in the Bus, have been guys that have went from disagreeing about football stuff to absolutely fucking hounded for a million different sort of personal digs, personal, you know, slatings. And for a guy who's only tried to represent Celtic, you know, in you know, Celtic foundations in New York, he's went to, he's met all our icons and clearly held himself in a manner that has been befitting of how you treat legends with respect, and that's why he's carried on and, you know, so often being such a focal point at Celtic over the years. For him to not maybe be flavour of the month with some fans, as I say, that's cool. For him to be the victim of hundreds of tweets. I see these wee pricks the next day. Oh, so you can't say you don't like someone's music before kickoff anymore. Well, no one's saying that.
No.
Everyone's okay with that. It's the fucking, I mean, outpouring of absolute snide, absolute shitebag fucking rhetoric for faceless, nameless, you know, virgins on fucking Twitter. And I'm like, fuck off. But for Liam on a Champions League night to actually make the call to pull out, and that's what he's kind of tweet said, and he's never one for fucking statements or anything like that. But he's got to stand up for himself a bit as well. And that's why he's felt compelled to post. You know, it was a punch in the gut to have so many comments with Celtic fans. It was shit as well because obviously his family's reading it. And then, of course, to actually have to say, do you know what? I'm going to pull out of this. That's, and I don't blame him for it, by the way, but that's how toxic it gets. Now, this is wee fannies, mate, right? Who talk to everyone like a piece of shit, go straight in for the fact, like, for me, it's always the hair and all this shit, right? And you're fucking, you know, it used to be Paul Weller and stuff. I was like, you can roll with that as long as you want. I'm cool with that. But it's always about how you come across in that profile picture. That's first and foremost, you know, the biggest thing that they want to go for, right? So it's instantly, it's personal. And these digs are nothing now to do with the point of topic that you're discussing. But they also don't offer real alternatives. I mean, I genuinely think it's because they want Bonkers Volume 2 playing instead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's nobody, mate, nobody in a fucking be-inspired trackie, you know, all wearing black, because my mates are wearing black hoodies, wanting Bonkers Volume 2 on and telling me who to vote for all at the same time. Fully Buckfast. I'm like, wait the fucking do. You are just overstep there. So you don't want music because you want bonkers. Okay, each to their own. It's a young generation. But you also want to dictate who you can vote for and who you can't. And everything comes down to you're a Tory bastard and all this shit now as well. I mean, I'd love to know if any of them voted for Labour, by the way, this year, just to see how that's working out. Not that I voted Tory or Labour, I don't vote. But just if you can't vote, Tory, what sort of morals and principles has a Keir Starmer fan got? Just to interest them? No. But they won't even know who Keir Starmer is. They don't have a clue what they're fucking talking about. But that level of abuse for a guy who I know so well to be such a sound guy, a guy who's never been out there blowing his own trumpet, mate, a guy who's never been getting crazy paid off Celtic or anything like that. He's just had fortunate circumstances like playing to 60,000 at Celtic Park, like meeting Kenny Dalglish and things like that in New York conventions. He's never been getting like fucking Philip Clement 50 grand a week money, has he? No. And he's never been anything but stayed humble. So why that has to turn into an opinion of not liking his vibe before a game, which I'm sure he would say, that's fair enough. You're entitled to that. Why does it need to go so much further, Mark? And why, when people, we cowards, see a wee glimpse of that hate, jump on the bandwagon and want to join in?
I must admit, boys, here when I saw it actually stemmed for somebody asking John Paul Taylor, is Liam playing tomorrow? Somebody said yes, Liam's playing tomorrow. And I was reading the replies and my heart sank. I went, I hope Liam's not seen this, Bhoycie. Friend of the show, your pal, I've met him myself, mate, lovely guy, fucking brand new as you like. I was gutted for the guy, Bhoycie, when I was reading the comments. I went, if he sees these comments, he's got to be a bit. I would take it personally when people are saying things like that. I really would. I don't care how thick-skinned you are. People are piling on you for no apparent reason. Personally, know that it matters. I love his music. Every Friday night, he's part of my listening, mate. And it's no bias because we know him on the pod and he's been on the pod. He's your mate. Nothing to do with that. I've just always liked his stuff. And I was in the Kerrydale last season, and the guy played brand new every week. He stopped to talk to anybody went by him. For folk to be that nasty to the guy that he's cancelled a gig, probably lost out in money as well. Not that it matters, but he probably lost out in money. And to release a statement saying, look, I'm just a guy like the rest of these, try to earn money to keep my family, and I've cancelled my gig because the abuse I was getting, Bhoycie. And you know, some of the reaction to his post and all was just as much sickening for me. There was folk basically saying, well, yes, we've won the battle there. I mean, this isn't some sort of... I know what it's like, so do you. I mean, the Celtic fan base, we can be the best fan base in the world at times, you know what I mean? You look at the charity work, look at the foundation, we really go over and above. But see when the Celtic fans turn on you, and me and you have personally had it, we've woke up to like 900 messages, me and you have both woke up to that before. And it's no very nice, boys, say DMs telling you to go and do yourself and all that. Me and you have both had that shit, you know what I mean? And but see, I seen that last night and I seen his wee comment, the night before last. And I felt gutted for the guy, boys. And there's something called social proofing, where when there's something happens and it's the general consensus, that just grows. The opinion just grows because that is the general consensus. I like Orange or so they are, you know what I'm talking about. And you saw it the other night that it was good. Shite, it kills the atmosphere and all the rest of it. I don't think it does, but that aside, you know what I mean, was Celtics. See if got to the game last night. See if one of your main concerns was the 15 minutes before kickoff, who was singing and what Celtic were doing pre-match. then you're gone for the wrong reasons, Bhoycie. You know what I mean? The Green Brigade put up a statement out saying, get to the stadium early. We've got a fantastic banner. We've worked on that. We want the players to be up for this game. Right, good, let's get there. And for folk to maybe jump on that and ruin it by targeting a brand new guy amongst anything. But he's a Celtic fan, I know. This isn't some guy they've gigged for London somewhere. This isn't somebody just come up for a gig. This guy's Celtic daft, you know what I mean? As you say, he's been in amongst Lawwell's company. He held himself well, you know what I mean? And he's not a sycophant, we all know that. He's also been in amongst the players. He gets constant gigs at Celtic Park, and he's a likeable man. And I don't understand the pile on myself. See, whether you hate his music, I don't mind that, to be quite honest with you. You mentioned Paul Weller there. I'm sorry him. If he's on, I'm not turning him off. But I want to go mental for him. You know what I mean?
No.
Doesn't mean that I hate the guy. And I just thought last night, boys, the night before last Tuesday night, I just thought it was a pile on for a pile on's sake. And I felt really bad for the guy. But what I did like in his statement was look, I've been wounded with this, but I'll be back. Don't think that he's last night, I think he did the right thing, in my personal opinion, by stepping away. You could say, he's let the Yobs win, but I don't think he did. He just didn't need it. But I think if you look at his grace, 2 seasons ago.
Did I not say that? Did I not say that in the group chat?
I think he did. See, Championship Day, Bhoycie, that was one of the best graces I've heard at Celtic Park.
Incredible,
it was fucking phenomenal. Everybody was at that game has got that on their phone recorded. So how come us went for that to the abuse? We all know Twitter's a cesspit, Bhoycie. Twitter is a cesspit.
And things can run their course, Mark. Things can run their course, and that's how you get change in life. That's all right. So he's not going to be holding court going, I need this gig forever and all that. Like, I expect to have it forever. He's the least like that person in the world. So if people are hearing the views and they go, just really my match the experience now, I don't look forward to that aspect of it.
Well, there's worse, there's a lot worse things at Celtic Park that I think have ran their course, if I've been totally honest.
Which is probably true as well.
And I listened to a podcast, maybe started this season, and it was 3 or 4 kind of panelists, if actually what I told them, and they were talking about how the Celtic song has run its course. And I'm like, a staple of Celtic Football Club, that will never run its course. But this is this new generation of folk, Bhoycie, who, unless it's Disco Land with Glow Up Sticks and Jerry Cinnamon,
Jake that acoustic music. See, if he was playing the same songs as Liam, by the way, where acoustic guitar.
You'll have loved it. It'll be Nedfest 2025, and they'll have all loved it. You know what I mean? And I think, and do something. And he normally sings On the Edge, Rebel. You listen to in the Carrpool, he'll sing some songs. You go, it's as far as he can push it. That. I mean, so I don't understand the hate for the guy. You know what I mean? And do you know? I think the last couple of days has maybe been, a wee eye opener for some of the ones who think like us they're just fed up with a certain element of your support, Bhoycie, who are maybe just they've been given a wee bit of leeway and they've just went the full hog with it. And I just, on a personal level, I know it's not going to annoy Liam long term, but I just think on a personal level, for that man to sit in his house last night, or he probably done a gig pre-match in the Carrpool, for him to feel no wanted in that way, could not have felt good, Bhoycie. It probably felt sickening for the guy.
Yeah, and it makes you probably question a hell of a lot as well. Have I always been hated this whole time? Is that how people think? Your wife's probably upset. Heaven forbid if your kids find it, then your sisters find it, or whatever, like family member it could be.
Where was the guys last week, Bhoycie, talk about Jota? Remember like the guys last week? A man showing his emotions. That fuck Sky, fuck Aidan McGady. Same guys 10 days later have piled on somebody and caused the guy probably emotional abuse.
Hashtag be kind. All those.
Hashtag be kind of.
The guys that will say Donald Trump's the enemy of the world, and I'm like, I've never heard him give out abuse like you just did in a tweet.
Yeah,
like the vitriol, and that's that. It's a bad example, but that's what I mean. That they don't even know. They don't even know who they are because they can't even put their own name to their own social media. That's how far away they are from having any sort of talent. And rather than embrace someone with a bit of talent and respect the fact he's living his dream, also can give your opinion throughout that, by the way. That's all right. But to then just go for the juggle, what a wanker, no bother, mate.
The guys who slag your hair last season before you woke up, remember you woke up and your hair changed? That wasn't a hair transplant, it just happened. by itself, didn't
totally,
it?
mate.
But,
Aye,
but
definitely.
the same guys who'll slag your haircut, and the same guys last week called me a skinny dying rat, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You look at their Facebook, you look at their profile photo, and it'll be like a cartoon of Hulk Hogan or something. You go, well, you're a faceless wonder, and you've went for the people who are trying to be a bit honest out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's faceless, but do you know what? The one thing about McGrandle's statement the other day there is he's pinpointed the wee fannies, boys. You see, the majority of folk will know that they're no fannies, but the only bad thing about that, boys, is see the fannies have got the loudest voice. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But hopefully next time, hopefully the more supportive ones will jump on the things first.
Yes, definitely. Well, he is playing Molly Malone's in Stirling tonight, which is just round the corner from my flat, and I will 100% be going along to see the big man. And you know, not that it matters.
Well, give him my best, mate. Give him my best.
I certainly will, mate. And that's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, we'll leave it on that note, Martin. Thanks very much for the chat. I know we've went over as usual, mate, but hey, fuck it. What can you do?
Mate, I'm a giver. Honestly, I am a giver. I give my time to the public out there. You know what I mean? Our fans in San Francisco.
That judge name is all wrong. You're the Mother Teresa.
Exactly, mate. I mean, the riots in America, I solved them with one podcast, mate. That's what I do. I just calm things down, mate. And
you do, mate.
You're welcome.
No, fuck knows where we'd be without you, man. Right, everyone, brilliant to be back on the bus. We will be back tomorrow with the Friday feeling, and then there'll be PMPs and all that coming up soon. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. See you later.